Boxing is often called the sweet science, a game of skill, strategy, and years of refinement. But every so often, someone reminds us that in this sport, all it takes is one. Just over the weekend, we saw that reminder when Fabio Wardley stepped into the ring with former amateur standout Justice Hooney. For nearly 9 rounds, Hooney showed exactly why he was so highly regarded. Sharp, composed, and in full control. He looked every bit the polished technician from the elite amateur system. Fabio Wardley, on the other hand, didn't come from that world. He only laced up the gloves at age 20, starting out in white-collar boxing. No amateur pedigree, no Olympic background, just raw grit, power and determination. And by God, did that pay off. In round 10, that power showed. A single, explosive right hand changed everything. From the brink of a decision loss to a devastating knockout victory. Now, that's what you call the equalizer. In boxing, there are all kinds of fighters. Some are sculpted in national teams, built on a foundation of medals and footwork drills. Others carve their way through unorthodox beginnings, relying on toughness, timing, and sheer will. But when you carry fight-ending power, it doesn't really matter what background you come from. You don't need to win every round, you just need a second. That's all it takes. And today, we're going to talk about the equalizing punch. Not every great puncher looks the part. Julian the Hawk Jackson wasn't flashy. He didn't box off the back foot, didn't shoulder roll, didn't frustrate you with his feints and footwork. He was a straight line fighter. Come forward, take one to give one. And on paper, against a slickster like Harold the Bomber Graham, that style should have been suicide. Graham was brilliant. A southpaw with head movement like a welterweight. Hands low, bouncing in and out of range. For 3 rounds, he gave Jackson a boxing lesson. Jackson couldn't find the target. He looked confused, off balance, and worse, he couldn't see properly. Between rounds, Jackson told his corner he was having trouble with his vision. His eye was swelling up fast, and the ringside doctor was called over to inspect it. Another round like that, and the fight was getting waved off. Jackson was seconds away from a TKO loss. Not from punches, but from being outboxed and medically pulled. Then came round 4. Graham was still dancing, still dominating. He stepped in just slightly too far, feinted, ducked, and came back up. And Jackson, barely able to see, threw a desperation right hand. It didn't look clean, it didn't look lined up, but it landed. One punch, and Harold the Bomber Graham was out. His body twisted on the way down, and the ref didn't even count. From nearly being pulled out by the doctor to a one-shot knockout victory. That's the danger of the equalizer. It doesn't care about who's winning, it doesn't need permission. You can be losing every second of the fight, but if you carry that kind of power, you're never out. You're only one shot away from flipping the script. And that's exactly what Julian Jackson did. When it comes to heavyweight boxing, the margins for error are razor thin. And nobody has embodied that danger more than Deontay Wilder in his prime. Before the trilogy with Fury, before the wear and tear set in, Wilder was the most dangerous man in the sport. Raw, unorthodox, unpredictable, but with a right hand that could end anyone's night in a heartbeat. And in 2019, we saw that again in his rematch with Luis Ortiz. Ortiz, the slick Cuban southpaw, had already pushed Wilder to the brink in their first fight. In the rematch, he looked even sharper. He controlled the ring, outboxed Wilder with ease, and through 6 rounds was pitching a shutout. Wilder wasn't throwing much, and when he did, he missed. Ortiz was simply levels ahead in skill and control. It looked like a masterclass in the making, but Wilder wasn't concerned, because back then, Wilder still believed, and more importantly, he still pulled the trigger. He waited, he watched, and he timed. And then, in the 7th round, with barely any warning, boom, a thunderous right hand split Ortiz Ortiz's guard and shut the lights off instantly. The arena erupted. The fight was over. A 6-round schooling erased in a single moment. That's the Equaliser in its purest form. Wilder didn't need to win rounds. He didn't need volume. He just needed one clean shot. It's what made him terrifying in his prime. A version of Wilder who wasn't second guessing, who hadn't lost faith in his own firepower, unlike the hesitant, gun-shy fighter we've seen since. This was the Wilder who truly believed that every second you spent in the ring with him could be your last, and against Ortiz it was. Heavyweights may carry the most dramatic versions of it, but the Equaliser doesn't live only with the giants. Sometimes it's hiding in a middleweight's left hand, waiting. Andy Lee knew all about that. Coming into his fight with John Jackson, Lee was the veteran, a composed southpaw with a thunderous backhand, but that didn't matter early on. Jackson, the younger, faster, and more aggressive of the two, dropped Lee in the first round and never let up. He was outboxing him, outfiring him, and out-timing him. By the middle rounds, Lee was in trouble. Jackson had him on the ropes, unloading with the confidence of a man who smelled blood. Lee was shelled up, absorbing shots, and in that moment, it looked like the end was coming. But Andy Lee did not panic. With seconds to breathe, he pivoted out, a tiny escape. Jackson stepped in to finish the job, and that's when Lee struck. A perfectly timed short right hook. Detonated clean on Jackson's chin. It didn't just stop the fight, it stopped time. Jackson crumbled unconscious before he even hit the canvas. That's the Equaliser in its purest form. A fighter being walked down, outclassed, nearly finished, who still had one bullet left in the chamber. Andy Lee never needed to win the fight minute by minute. He only needed a moment. In boxing, we always see great KOs that keep you on the edge of your seat, like Michael Conlan getting knocked out by Lee Wood in the final moments of their clash. Or Jermaine Taylor getting stopped by Carl Froch after being ahead and putting Froch down for the first time in his career. All these moments are why boxing remains my favourite sport, because at any moment everything can change. But the fight that captures this truth the most, George Foreman versus Michael Moorer. It was supposed to be a one-sided affair, a 45-year-old Foreman, well past his prime, taking on the younger, faster, reigning heavyweight champion. From round one, Moorer beat him to the punch, outboxed him, and controlled the fight with ease. Foreman looked every bit his age, slow, plodding, and outdated, but he never lost faith. Round after round, he waited. He looked for that one mistake, and when it came, a single second of Moorer getting too comfortable. Foreman unleashed a simple 1-2 down the pipe. Boom. Moorer fell flat, out cold, and just like that, George Foreman became the oldest heavyweight champion in history. He didn't win with speed or youth, and definitely not with volume. He won with belief. The belief that with one punch, he could put your lights out. Because as long as you carry that one punch that can change everything, you should never give up on yourself.
The impossible dream has happened. Heavyweight history has happened. The winner, and once again, heavyweight champion of the world, Big George